So it was 30 years ago today that my Broviac port was removed for Wilms tumor, my chemo port. And it was at the surgeon's office at Sparrow Hospital in Lansing. It was both a good day and a very brutal day. So my mom was waiting in the lobby, and they were giving me the sedative, but there was a problem with the sedative, and they come out and consulted my mother and said, Mrs. Fuller, the sedative, it's going into his system, but it's not working to its maximum capacity. And my mother just kind of had that confused look in her face, like, what do you mean? It's not working to its maximum capacity. And he said, Mrs. Fuller, what we're saying is that he's not responding fully to the sedative. And it's a sedative that we require, because he's so little, and he's not responding to it. And my mom says, okay, so where do we go from here? What goes on from here? And they said, Mrs. Fuller, we have to pull the port. Pull the port, you mean while he's awake? That's correct, Mrs. Fuller. Oh boy. So my mother, sitting in the lobby with her head down and her hands folded, she was anticipating a scream. Of course, naturally, it's a chemo port. I screamed so loud and so hard that I gurgled. Like an infant, when they scream and when they cry loud, they have that gurgling sound. I was 3 years old when my port was removed. And my mother said I screamed so hard and so loud that I started to gurgle. They came back out, and my mother was crying helplessly. And they said, Mrs. Fuller, we're sorry. We are so sorry. And I think they cried with Mom. I think they sat next to her and they cried with her. And they, tried to relieve her. And because Mom was, needless to say, she was inconsolable. And it was a good day because my treatment was done. It was over. But it was brutal. Right up to the very end. And it's a pain, I guess, you don't forget. Of course, I was too little. I don't really remember any of it. Actually, I don't remember any of it at all. My mother said after we left, we were on our way back home, and she said that it was like I was possessed by the devil, because I was kicking and screaming and biting my mother. And it's just a crazy time.